A very warm good morning to all of you. Dear students, once again I would like to welcome all of you to a new session of the Civics class. Today we are continuing with the same chapter, chapter number 3, Prime Minister and Council of Ministers, part 5. Do you remember what we were discussing in the previous class? In the previous class we were discussing two important points. We were focusing on two important points in the last class. First of all, tenure. How many years a minister can remain in his post? Term of office of a minister. That's what we have seen in the first part. In the second part, we have seen position and powers of the Prime Minister. What were the different powers? What is the position of the Prime Minister? So that's what we were discussing in the last class. And today we are going to discuss about Prime Minister and the President. We have already studied about the President in the previous chapter. We have gone through a vivid explanation about the powers and functions of President in India. And today we are going to discuss about how the powers are distributed between Prime Minister and the President. So without wasting time, let's move to the class. Powers vested in the President. So in India, all the powers were given to the President. Even though he is indirectly elected, all the powers are given to the President. President has to exercise all the powers. But at the same time, it is exercised by the Prime Minister. So finally, suppose, let's discuss about an example which we have already seen in the chapter where we were discussing about the President. The President has the power to declare national emergency. We have already studied about it, right? Do you remember about it? I hope that you have studied that chapter very well, so you might be remembering it also very well. So the President has the power to declare national emergency. But what's the problem with that? Or there is a condition with that. What is that? The Prime Minister along with the cabinet ministers has to give written permission. So the President simply cannot declare national emergency, but he has to get the written permission from the Prime Minister along with the cabinet ministers. That's why all the powers, ultimately everything will be declared by the President, but all the powers are exercised by the Prime Minister. I hope you understood what is the meaning conveyed in these two different points. Powers is vested with the President, but it is being exercised by the Prime Minister. That's why the Prime Minister is being known as the principal advisor of the President. So Prime Minister has to advise the President in each and everything. The Prime Minister has to give necessary instructions and guidelines to the President to act. The President simply cannot act according to his wish and will. He cannot simply implement any rules and regulation according to his wish and will. He has to get permission from the Prime Minister, and that's why he is being known as a principal advisor of the President. In India, President is just a nominal head. Nominal head means just for the namesake, he is a President. It doesn't mean exactly like namesake. Please don't take the literal meaning of that word which I have used. President is, of course, he is the first citizen. He is the supreme commander of all the forces. So we have already studied about the powers and functions of the President. But when we see or when we discuss about the powers comparing with the Prime Minister, President is a nominal head. All the different agreements and treaties are being signed in the name of the President. So we cannot say that he is not having any power or he is not having any role. He is having. But while we compare with the Prime Minister, President is a nominal head in India. But Prime Minister is the real executive because he is controlling the President, or he is giving necessary guidelines. He is giving advice to the President. So President is nominal head and Prime Minister is real executive. because he is the assistant of the president, but according to his guidance, the president will function. I hope you understood. President is the first citizen, he is the first member of our country, but he is having an assistant. Who is that? It is the Prime Minister. That's why he is being known as the principal advisor of the president. So the Prime Minister is the assistant of the president, and he is giving advice to the president in time, and the president will be acting according to the instructions of the real executive or the Prime Minister. I hope it is very clear to you. Second point, when we were discussing about the Union Parliament in the first chapter, we have studied a special power with the president. He summons and prorogues the parliament. He called the members of the parliament for a gathering, and he is declaring the meeting is adjourned. So calling and dispersing of the parliament is vested with the president. It is with the president. Just keep in mind what point we are going to discuss. Okay. So gathering and dispersing of the parliament is vested with the president. Dissolution of Lok Sabha vested with president. President can dissolve Lok Sabha. Okay, he can declare Lok Sabha as invalid. Okay, so all these acts are being done by the president. So summons and prorogues of the parliament is being done by the president. Dissolution of Lok Sabha is being done by the president, but on the advice of the Prime Minister. So who is the advisor, or the person who is advising the president to do it? It is none other than the Prime Minister. That's why we have seen in the previous point, he is the principal advisor of the president. So Prime Minister is advising the president to summons and prorogue the parliament and to dissolve Lok Sabha. All these activities are declared by the president, but on the advice of the Prime Minister. I think it's very clear to you. Okay, now let's move to the third point. Prime Minister chooses the ministers. We have already seen this particular point. So Prime Minister will be choosing his most trusty colleagues as the cabinet ministers and other ministers. So Prime Minister chooses the ministers and the president appoints them, which means the Prime Minister has the power to choose who has to become a minister, and the president appoints them on his advice, means on the advice of the Prime Minister, the president appoints the minister. We have already studied these points in the previous part of this chapter, but here we are discussing it again to understand the powers vested with both president and Prime Minister. What is the difference in their powers? So president is appointing the minister, but if the president wants to appoint a person as the minister, he has to get permission or he has to get advice from the Prime Minister, and he may be dismissed. So if a minister is not behaving properly, or if he is not responsible to his portfolio, he can be dismissed, but it is also on the advice of the Prime Minister. So Prime Minister can, so basically we can say that the Prime Minister has the power to choose a minister and he has the power to dismiss a minister, but it will be done by the president. According to the advice of the Prime Minister, the president implemented. Okay, now we are going to see the fourth point, that is the president advises the Prime Minister advises the president on various appointments. Again, we can connect this particular point with the first chapter, that was about the president and the vice president. In the second chapter, we have studied about the special powers with the president. He has the power to appoint different posts, especially important posts. And if he wants to appoint a person to that post, he has to get advice from the Prime Minister. So that's why here it says that Prime Minister advises the president on various appointments, like the judges of the Supreme Court, the governors and ambassadors, all these people are appointed by the president, but timely the prime minister will be giving his advice to the president. Now the fifth point, prime minister is a link between the president and the council of ministers. You may be a little confused, I think. Okay, I will explain it to you. He is the link between the president and the council of ministers. The prime minister is the link between the president and the council of ministers. How it functions? Let's see the remaining points of this particular part. It shall be the duty of the prime minister to communicate to the president all decisions of the council of ministers. A minister cannot discuss with the president on his own. Which means a minister has no power to meet the president to discuss about his particular department. But rather what is needed? It's the duty of the prime minister to communicate the decision of the council of ministers to the president. So who is the link between the council of ministers and the president? Of course it is prime minister. So prime minister is the only person who is having direct access to the president. It doesn't mean that president will be meeting only prime minister, but to discuss about the decisions of the ministers, either about one department or number of departments. If a department is taken a decision, those kinds of political matters related to the country will be communicated to the president only by the prime minister. Those official matters can be communicated to the president only by the prime minister. That's why we have seen the point, prime minister is the link between the president and the council of ministers. Now we are going to the last point. The president can ask the council of ministers to reconsider any matter. Suppose if from a department, if a minister has taken a decision and it has discussed among the council of ministers, and later the prime minister has informed these matters with the president, and the president has the right to ask the council of ministers to reconsider any matter if he feels it is needed. In such cases, the president may call for information, which means if there is a problem with a decision taken by the council of ministers, the president may call for information, the other important data related to that particular decision. So president may call for information, and it's the duty of the prime minister to furnish such information. No other minister has the right to meet the president, even though it is related to his particular department. But it is the duty of the prime minister to inform, or it's the duty of the prime minister to communicate all those things with the president. So dear students, these are the 6 important points which shows the distribution of powers between the president and the prime minister. And I hope that it's very clear to you. If it is not clear, go through the points once again, and definitely it will help you to understand this part very well. And the next part, or in the next class, we will be dealing with the next point. Till then, I would like to sign off. Thank you.